We're a minute out. Thirty seconds. Broadcasting live from the sensational Tyler Medium Studio D in Oklahoma City, it's a special Christmas edition of McRoof Talks Insurance on KOKC, AM 1520 and FM 95.3. I'm Rick Allen Lippert here with restoration specialist and Hall of Fame remodeler Scott McCollum.
Hey, good afternoon, good morning.
Also here is HAAG-certified roofing inspector Scotty McCollum.
Hi, Rick.
Running man Eric Yandel is the wizard on the other side of the glass. Yeah. You can tell how merry
And
he is.
ho, ho, ho to you too, buddy.
I think he still has some mall shopping to do.
Oh, oh my gosh. Oh my.
He will answer your calls when you call 405-478-1520. We are live streaming today on the McRoof Talks Insurance YouTube channel, which Scott just waved at you. Also, you can hear us anywhere in the US of A on the iHeartRadio app. Just search for KOKC. Now, Act 1 of the show today will start as usual with our trivia question and other interesting tidbits, including the word of the week. That number again to answer the trivia question or to just ask a question of these guys, 405-478-1520. In Act 2, we'll hear Scotty's view from the rooftop. This week, McRoof explains a disparaging development regarding a client's insurance claim and gives some tips to help you avoid winding up in the same position. In an episode titled A Lesson in Futility?
What position is that? Flat on your back? DOA?
Then in Act 3, we'll continue taking your calls, plus we'll have some After the Storm tips brought to you by RoofRx, and we'll wrap up with Dad's Wisdom brought to you by Energy Q.
Hey, did you hear from that old attorney this week?
Well, I'm getting there. I'm
Okay.
getting there. Coming back from breaks, we'll have some genuinely obscure historical trivia as well as more Christmas music.
There you go.
And I have a Christmas music surprise for you you will not believe. Now,
I'm
A
believe it or not,
Santa
to know.
singing telegram.
no, a mall Santa. Last night,
Oh, boy.
Motion called me
my
over to
gosh.
remind me to say that S&CM LLC, doing business as McRoof.US, legally operates under Oklahoma registration number 8000002, and that the registration applies to both residential and commercial roofing.
He didn't ask you if you've been a good boy this year because he already knows the answer.
That's right. That's right. I can't. A mall Santa. He spotted me in the crowd.
I did not know that McRoof was so famous that even Santa and all his elves knew about McRoof.
Well, you should have seen. You should have seen the look on the face of the kid that he threw off the lap to call me over.
Hey, was there an OSHA inspector around?
Yeah. Oh.
Hey, Eric Rich at the top of his game.
Boy, I
today.
guess he is. My goodness, it's this special Christmas edition
Yes, it
of
is.
McRoof Talks Insurance. We're having way too much fun. So let's get to a serious word of the week before let's do the trivia question first, and then we'll go to the word of the week.
Okay.
So the trivia question, and let me just editorially say, you don't want people to call, do you?
Well, now wait a minute. Now,
We're very open to hear what people have to say, Rick.
You read this question. And
hey, I tell you what, Scotty wrote this question. We'll give the young man credit.
All right.
And it is, it's over my head.
Oh
so
my
anyway.
goodness! My eyes glassed over just copying and pasting.
Go for it, Scotty.
Well, this week's trivia question is what properties does the long-term thermal resistance, LTTR, indicate about a roofing product?
Okay.
A, ability to withstand external heat that the roofing system is subject to.
Okay.
Ability to retain its structure, thus ability to contribute to the insulation of the building envelope.
Okay.
Or C, ability to resist compression and other naturally occurring stresses which contribute to longevity of the product.
Okay.
D, all of the above, or E, none of the above.
So what is?
And I can tell you, it's unlikely that E is the correct answer.
So
There's a hint.
LTTR, long-term thermal.
This typically applies to commercial or low-slope roofing applications.
Okay.
And these are properties that you would be very interested in having products that perform at a very high level. So
Okay.
let's see what the answer to this is, Scotty. Okay, very
we
good.
will
All right.
see.
So,
We will
actually, Eric is talking to someone on the phone right now, so we may have an answer.
We may have an engineer or a building scientist on the
We
line.
may be. And
That
in
would
fact,
be
let's.
fascinating.
It
I
would
tell you,
be.
before we get to the word of the week, let's go ahead and go to Glenn because I want to know what you're thinking, Glenn. Hello, Glenn.
Hello, Glenn. How are you today? You said A? Well, you are not correct, Glenn. I'm sorry to say. I was trying to figure out the nicest way to let you off easy, but you're incorrect.
Oh, wow.
It was a good guess.
And Glenn just jumped right in there. We should give him a.
Oh, I love the confidence.
Absolutely.
Really.
Well,
I mean,
I tell you what, Glenn, hang on a second. Now, Scotty, would you say he is incorrect or partially correct?
because I
talk about giving it away.
because I updated my answer because the way I phrased. Yes, well, we understand that.
Well, you
Glenn.
know what? We probably should just give Glenn another chance.
I think so.
Let's hear a second.
It's Christmas. We're all in a giving mood. Let's give you a second chance, Glenn.
Let's hear it, Glenn.
Hey!
That is correct.
There you go.
Ding,
That is
ding,
correct.
ding, ding, ding. I knew we'd make a winner out of Glenn anyway. So one way or the other.
Hey, Glenn, thank you very much for playing the game with us. And now, if you'll
I
stay on
think
the
I need
line.
to come up with another trivia question that he answered that so quick.
No, we have plenty to talk
Yeah,
about
we got
today.
a lot to talk about today.
So, Glenn, stay on the line, and Eric will get your digits.
Glenn, you got any other questions or anything for us? Okay.
Well, you know, their hooves are awfully sharp when they don't file them down. So
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
I think you need to be aware of those divots that they'll create and maybe gouge your shingles a little bit.
Exactly. We probably need to come out and do an inspection once he gets done doing his little deed there, okay?
Yeah.
Make sure it's all still in good shape for you. They may dislodge a ridge shingle, or, you know, if you had a wood shake or a concrete tile, they could easily break something. So,
Oh, my
yeah,
goodness.
We might need to come and do some cleanup of your roof too, as well. That's an often overlooked
some
aspect
poop
of it.
scooping.
Oh, now.
Are we allowed to say that?
Yeah,
Hey,
sure we
hey,
can.
hey.
Hey, Merry Christmas, Glenn. Thanks
Glenn,
for playing.
and before you hang up, I want you to make sure you stay on the line so Eric can get your information, because I am going to send you 2 free tickets to any Carpenter Square Theater production the rest of the season. We have a play opening in mid-January, but then we have 5 more plays before the end of the season. So, and there'll be information I'll send you about where to get more info on the play you want to go to.
Very good.
Thank
Okay.
you, Glenn.
Thanks
Merry
for playing.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Enjoy your weekend.
Okay. Wow. I didn't expect anyone. That was.
So let's run back through
You
it.
underestimated our audience.
I did.
Let's
Rick.
run back through it. Long-term thermal resistance. A, ability to withstand external heat that the roofing system is exposed to. B, ability to retain its structure, which is very important. And when you say retain its structure, as in not melt, okay?
Okay.
Not, displace itself because it gets so hot that it essentially melts. That's what that's talking about. Ability to resist compression. That's if
Or
you have
freezes and cracks and fragments.
yeah, expansion, contraction, all that kind of thing really plays a part into that. But what we worry about, particularly on the modified asphalts in the extreme heat, and then someone standing on that and actually compressing it. Okay.
And when you say the first thing of the ability to withstand external heat, we're talking about the sun, right?
Environmental heat, yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Ambient heat.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's just the really hot air that we get in the summertime. With this being and retaining its structure, so its molecular structure stays intact.
Right.
Okay, so
Right.
it doesn't.
Physically
it's not broken
does
down.
not disintegrate, does not.
Exactly.
Because I've had some lawn furniture that just deteriorated over time because it sat outside on the
Oh,
patio.
of course.
Yeah,
Mostly
the-
because of exposure to UVs
In the
in a lot of
asphalt,
cases.
in the asphalt world, it's mostly we're talking about it essentially liquefying.
Yes.
Okay.
Although, even though we said this is a low slope and mostly commercial applications question, there are some non-asphaltic products that what my dad just said does not particularly apply to, because these products are either a membrane, a synthetic, TPO, EPDM, rubber roofing, all that could be at play.
Okay, let's get to the word of the week then.
That word is accidental.
Oh, I think that happened to me this morning.
Really?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
hopefully it wasn't one that
Did you get it
caused
all
you-
cleaned up?
I did. All cleaned up.
Didn't cause you a lot of embarrassment. Hopefully. Happening by chance, unintentionally, or unexpectedly.
Yep.
And when we work with insurance companies, as much as we do, the nature of the damage is required to be, at least for coverage by an insurance carrier, sudden and direct, accidental, and physical loss.
So it's accidental as opposed to intentional.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
And
Or incidental, like somebody's mowing the lawn with their riding mower. There's some small rocks, pebbles, whatever, other objects in the grass. The mower picks those up, slings them against the gutter or
Right.
the downspout,
Okay.
and creates an indentation. That is not a covered, even though it is incidental versus accidental. And incidental would be you're doing something else, there's a man-made activity that creates some type of damage that is, yes, in one way accidental from a casual perspective, but as far as an insurance company is concerned, it's incidental.
And do you
Well,
see this
and-
happening a lot?
Well, the sudden and accidental that's the thing that we're looking for, and particularly when we come out to do an inspection, or we're meeting an adjuster on site, whatever, depending on what the situation is. We're looking at sudden and accidental as opposed to, we talked about this a lot, the deferred maintenance, the conditions that would already have been present prior to that storm. event, that's that occurrence, that specific point in time with an event, okay, that would cause that storm-related damage. We're looking for storm-related damage.
Okay.
Okay.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
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 I mean, working with insurance companies, of course.
Well, in the minute and a half we have left before we go to the break, I don't think that's quite enough time to get into what your week is, but I did want to mention to you that in addition to being National Flashlight Day, because of the winter solstice, the longest night of the year,
Wow.
it's also Yule. Y-U-L-E, you've heard,
The
Yuletide,
Yule log.
the Yule log,
Right.
and that goes back thousands of years
Sure it
to the Norse.
I was going to
culture.
say it's Nordic or
The Vikings,
Yep.
and
Yep.
and they brought in trees, the Yule log, and they would do that. The midwinter feast would last 12 days.
Wow.
Mhm.
12
12
days of Christmas.
Christmas.
And so they also did mistletoe. That goes way back, and the Celts believed mistletoe possessed healing powers to ward off evil spirits.
Interesting.
And then in Norse tradition, Old Man Winter visited homes to join the festivities. And Odin, the Norse god, was described as Father Christmas, a wanderer with a long white beard. Where have I seen that before? So anyway,
It's fascinating.
yeah. So there
Some
were
mythology
and a lot of
and
other things.
cultural
Anyway,
Education, yes.
this is the special Christmas edition of McRoof Talks Insurance on KOKC AM 1520 FM 95.3. I'm Rick Allen Lippert. He's restoration specialist and Hall of Fame remodeler Scott McCollum. And over there is HAAG-certified roof inspector Scotty McCollum. Eric Yandel waiting for your call to 405-478-1520. We'll be back with more Christmas festivities when we return.
If you don't have an advisor when it comes to your residential, commercial, or metal roof, you may not have met one of McRoof's solution specialists yet. Our team is dedicated to thoroughly evaluating your needs and to developing effective and lasting solutions focused not only on financial cost, but also long-term goals for your home or building. Providing accurate in-person inspections, personal guidance with insurance, roofing, and design factors, and follow-up throughout the repair process, we seek to be your last stop for professional roofing and insurance restoration. McRoof is founded on quality, integrity, and lasting value. If these things appeal to you, give us a call today at 855-766-3405. McRoof.us. Simply better roofs.
Watch out, Grandma.
McRoof Talks Insurance back on the air for Act 2 of today's show, a special Christmas edition. On this date in 1620, the Mayflower Pilgrims came ashore in Plymouth Bay, traditionally thought to be Plymouth Rock, in Massachusetts. Now, the date is disputed, plus or minus a few days, because they didn't have the most accurate records back then. On this date in 1988, the terrorist bomb destroyed Pan Am Flight 103 over Lockerbie, Scotland, killing 259 passengers and crew on board and 11 people on the ground. Very, very tragic. But 20 years earlier, Glenn Campbell, his song Wichita Lineman went #1, written by Oklahoman Jimmy Webb.
County. I used to sing that song.
I'll bet you did. So Wichita Lineman went #1 in the U.S. on this date in 1968.
I was born in Wichita.
Wichita Falls, wasn't it?
No,
Oh,
I was
Wichita,
born in
Kansas?
Wichita, Kansas.
Were you really?
My daddy was in the Air Force
yeah.
at McConnell Air Force Base,
Okay.
and I lived there for 2 whole weeks. I was born, and they packed my little tail up and got me out of there as fast as they could. Kansas didn't want me.
Yeah, I understand. So you had a good week this past week?
Yeah.
Yeah, for December, it's awfully busy.
Tell
There's
them
an
about it,
awful lot of
Scotty.
people getting their roofs fixed.
Yeah, good.
The spring storms have something to do with that. People that have been delaying making their claim until now or recently, even people who had damage in 2023, that has created a little bit of a backlog as well.
I'll bet.
So it's a
We always-
good problem for us to have. I haven't been this busy around Christmas time in a few at least a few years, maybe
Maybe
ever.
ever. Yeah, it's we always say that, and I tell everybody in the dog days of summer, I say just wait till the calendar turns over into September after Labor Day, and then we always start getting the phone calls from the people who have put everything off from the spring storms this year, and even the winter storms or late year storms last year. And now they're urgent. Mama wants to get everything done before Thanksgiving so we can get the house decorated and get ready for the kids and everything else. So now there's this flurry of activity all of a sudden.
Yes,
Okay,
there
well
is.
then this year, here comes Mother Nature, not with a normal garden variety fall hailstorm, but a whack-a-mole hailstorm.
Yeah.
Through a significant part of the metro, and then a month later,
A
throw
tornado.
on top of that, first weekend of November, fairly significant tornado outbreak in the metro, and you put all that together, and we've got a significant backlog, significant pipeline. Fortunately, the way that things work out, we take things as they come. People are kind of in a pecking order in terms of when they initially contacted us and when we ultimately can get their insurance company out there on site. And then depending on who their insurance company is, some companies we know we're going to resolve very quickly after we have the initial adjuster appointment. Other companies we know that it's going to take a month or two to get it to a point where we're actually ready to move forward, go to a contract, and be able to determine a scope of work and an oops and out-of-pocket scenario for them. So it just depends. But what this does is it naturally spreads things out through our pipeline to where we never get into this situation where it's just a crush of building roofs. We don't like to do that. We like to focus on what we're doing. Do it well, clean it up, make sure that all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, and then move to the next one. We like
being steady.
We don't like doing multiple jobs in a day because we quite honestly don't have the personnel to manage that the way that we want it to be managed for our clients. I'm not saying we never do multiple jobs in a day, but we don't prefer it that way. And then, like I said, we don't want to be in such a hurry to get off of this roof to get to the next one tomorrow that we haven't buttoned everything up, cleaned it up, punched it out, and done everything exactly the way we want it. We'd rather come back in the morning and spend a half day getting everything the way we want it, go work on repairs the rest of that next day, and then go start that next job the third day. That's how we would prefer to do it. So anyway.
And another thing I wanted to mention is we've had we were talking about this earlier, my dad and I. 4 of our last 5 or 4 of our last 6 contracts, I'll have to check, have been insurance denials that we've fought for at least a couple of months and have gotten overturned
At least
and have gotten reversed after arduous time and effort spent negotiating with the companies, submitting supplemental requests, and then finally, after badgering, getting granted a second inspection, which ended up to a positive outcome. So that's very, very gratifying for us that, hey,
Let me say this in the way of an illustration so that people understand what we deal with. And I know a lot of people know exactly what we deal with because they're either in the middle of that situation themselves or they're in our business and they know what we're talking about.
Or have been.
We have a particular claim that had been denied, in our mind, had been wrongfully denied. And so we had asked for a second inspection and had been granted a second inspection. The second inspector came out with the first inspector, which is never really probably going to be a good thing because the first inspector has already told him what his position is and what he believes they're going to see and has kind of predetermined the outcome of that second inspection before it's not a fresh set of eyes. It's not somebody looking at this for the first time. Okay.
The thumb is on the scale, so to speak.
The thumb is on the scale, so to speak. So of course we get a denial on the second inspection. Well, the second inspection results in a partial. Okay. In other words, we've gone from a denial to now we have a partial. So it moved the dial to some degree, but it didn't move the dial where it should have been. We documented everything and asked for another inspection. Of course, very, very, very seldom will you be granted a third inspection from an insurance company. Okay. Wanda instructed them. I wrote it down for her. She made the phone call. She said, I just want you to know that this roof has been inspected by 2 HAAG-certified residential inspectors, okay, and that you have all of their photographs and documentation and inspection report with their name and their credential number on it. And we have an AOB, an assignment of benefits from this insured. And if you do not grant us another inspection or send us a claim summary paying for this roof based on the information that you have in your file, then this will end up at the OID in the form of a complaint, and it will end up going legal.
That's the Oklahoma Insurance Department.
Right. And we just want you to know that.
Okay.
Well, so a few days later, we get a phone call, and they're going to give us a third inspection.
Okay.
So
It's quite rare. Quite
very rare. So Johnny's going out for this third inspection, and I've already told everyone I am going to go just because, if nothing else, I want to watch the proceedings so that I can, because I'm the one that ultimately will have to step away from McRoof and look at this from the standpoint of how an adjuster should look at it, from the standpoint of how an umpire and appraiser should look at it, because that's where this will end up going.
Okay.
Okay. So I want to know the facts myself. So I go down there, and I notice before I go, I read all the notes, and I see who the adjuster is. And I'm thinking to myself, if this adjuster shows up on this job, everything is going to work out the way it's supposed to. And sure enough, I get down there, I'm sitting there, I'm always the first one there. I'm sitting there waiting. Johnny pulls up after me, and then the adjuster pulls up. I look back there at his van. I recognize him. It is exactly who I expected to show up. We, small talk for a few minutes, kind of this, that, and the other, major differences, and he's going to get his ladder, and, they've done their walk around the outside, and he's going to get his ladder and get up on the roof. And I walked over, I said, "Hey, Jim, I'm out of here." I said, "I know you know what you're doing, and I know you know why we're here." And he and I have worked together on some big claims in the past. And I said, "I know that with you here, that this is going to be handled the way it's supposed to be handled, and I'm leaving."
Yeah.
And I said that to, one, I'm affirming him that I really do. know he is a professional, and I do know that he knows what hail damage is. And I told him, I said, unfortunately, we have experiences with your company where we get people who I believe have not been properly trained and do not know what their job is and do not know what hail damage is. And he said, Scott, I understand. So I left, told Johnny, I said, Johnny, this is all going to be just fine. I said, in fact, you could call your customer right now and tell him Scott said this is all going to be just fine. And before he left, he had called me and said the adjuster said he's taking care of the rest of the roof and everything else that we needed, and I'll have it within a day or so. And I think we had it within a couple of hours. And the homeowner's going, why did it have to be this way?
Exactly.
And that's really the question. Why does it have to be this way?
I think everyone knows the answer.
I think
to
their
that.
actuaries might have a good answer, but I don't know.
Well, because insurance companies make a profit when they don't replace a roof.
Or every day that goes by that they're not paying for a particular claim, that
Exactly.
money is making interest.
Exactly.
But where does it become acceptable that by sending unqualified, untrained, or improperly instructed people to a job site to determine the value of a loss like this? Where is that consistent with, indemnifying an insured when they have an insured loss? It's
Yeah.
not.
Time to get up on the roof. This week, McRoof explains a disparaging development regarding the client's insurance claim and gives some tips to help you avoid winding up in the same position. This week's view from the rooftop is called A Lesson in Futility.
Yes, the question mark there, Rick, is important.
That's why I inflected upwards.
Yes. Well, I had no doubt that you would assign the proper inflection to that device.
So do tell.
Well, we've talked about this couple's struggle, which has been a multiple years long struggle, in this case, 2 years. Since their original inquiry to us, they've been a generational customer of my dad's, that my dad is now passed along to me to handle. He's still involved to some degree, but their insurance claim has gotten approved after 2 years of fighting.
Yay.
Well, that's what I thought 2 weeks ago. It turns out that their carrier, their agent, who's a long time, if y'all can see me on the live stream, friend, in quotations.
Yeah, in the air quotes.
Lifelong friend, has told them that they have a replacement cost policy where they do, however, there's an endorsement added to their policy which modifies the loss settlement provision
For
on
the
their
roof.
roof items on a claim for roof damage to change that loss settlement to equivalent terms of what an actual cash value policy would be, meaning that none of the depreciation assigned to the roof is actually recoverable. Therefore, that amount becomes an additional out-of-pocket expense to their deductible.
And we talk about this all the time with people, is that, people tell us, oh, I've got a replacement cost policy. Well, do you really? You may have a replacement cost policy on your dwelling, but does that replacement cost apply to, in this case,
The roof
your
items.
roof?
Oh,
Yes.
my
So
goodness.
that's the disparaging development. We've got some tips to help people avoid getting
All right, we have 2.5
duped.
minutes. Get to
Yes,
these tips.
yes. Well, the first tip is run it by a professional who is used to looking at insurance policies every day, every week for a living. Not an insurance professional, because, and that, as I was explaining to these folks last night, insurance companies have come up with these modified endorsements to modify the payment terms so that their agents can get out clean when they're asked if a customer has a full replacement cost policy, because it's deceitful. It is deceitful.
I'm going to say this. We probably, we certainly know what these contracts say. Okay, I'm gonna say almost all of them. Okay, we ask when you call in and you ask for an appointment with Carly to set up a solution specialist. She asks if you will have your policy available for us to review, and if we're not sure when your date of loss might be, we'd like to see last year's policy and the current renewal, because we don't know where that date's going to fall and the conditions may be different. Okay.
Exactly.
We have one this week, this came up, where even though we had told the client that they had a very poorly written contract and one that was going to be fairly punitive to them, they ended up mad at us when they were told that their insurance company was not going to pay for their decking, because they had paid for ordinance or law coverage, okay? But their company has a clause in there on the roof settlement section that says they're only paying for one layer of shingles and they are not paying for decking. Okay?
Not even underlayment.
Even though they have paid for ordinance or law, they have turned around and excluded it. Now, I haven't been to OID yet with this, because I actually believe that that is deceptive and fraudulent.
Sure sounds like
And
it.
I believe that they would have a course of action in that regard. But it didn't do us any good, because they got mad at us and thought we didn't know what we were doing. And yeah, anyway, good luck. So
Yeah.
Please have a professional review your policy, because there's some gotchas in there, and it's becoming more common as I explain to these customers. It's not just your carrier, it's all these carriers. All these carriers want their agents to be able to, because that's a hot button issue these
Sure.
days. These last
And
few years, consumers are more informed about what to ask about, and contractors are more savvy as well to advise their customers, hey, you need to make sure you've got a replacement cost policy. And again, this is just there's a technicality that allows them to say yes, but they really
every
don't.
time you get a renewal policy or an endorsement in the mail, do not just throw it in the desk drawer. Get it out. If you don't know what it says, ask somebody.
Ask
Okay.
somebody who does.
And we'll continue with these tips for avoiding getting
A
into
sticky
that
situation.
Yeah.
Yes.
On when we come back with Act 3 of McRoof Talks Insurance on KOKC, AM 1520, FM 95.3. It's a special Christmas edition of the show. We'll have a very interesting song to bring us back when we return.
Folks, if you're tired of replacing that roof after every big storm, let's build it back better this time. None of our Class 4 impact-resistant certainteed roofs suffered any hail damage in the fall hailstorms. Now, we are replacing a couple of roofs from impact damage from tornado debris in the November storms, but those will be the very first Northgate modified asphalt polymer shingles that we will have ever replaced, and they are not being replaced for hail damage. They're being replaced for wind-borne debris damage. Take it a step further, build your roof to fortified roof standards, and save up to 42% on your homeowner's premiums. Contact McRoof today to find out what all the fuss is about. Don't just replace your roof, fortify it. McRoof.us, simply better roofs. Louise's claim started at 40,000. It's over 100 now, and it's still not right.
Oh my goodness. Oh my. McRoof Talks Insurance, back on the air for Act 3 of our special Christmas edition. You're listening to the Fab Four, a tribute band, a Beatles tribute band. They have a whole album of Christmas songs done in the style of Beatles songs.
It doesn't surprise me that you would know about that, Rick.
I only learned about them this morning when I was searching for
Oh, wow.
interesting. I'm probably going to have to get that CD because I listened to a few of them, and I swear it sounds like the Beatles.
Yeah, it does.
And-
It does. I
and,
thought it was the Young Beatles.
There was one song they did. I forget which one it was, but it was to the tune of Lady Madonna, and it had the piano riff and the do 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 do. All I mean, it was wonderful. On this date in 1913, you guys like crossword puzzles?
I do.
All
I
right.
do.
On this date in 1913, the New York World published the first crossword puzzle. It had 32 clues.
I bet the cavemen were doing crossword puzzles long before, Rick.
I'm not so sure. On this date in 1970, that famous photo you've seen, no doubt, of Elvis Presley with Richard Nixon in the Oval Office. That photo was taken on this date in 1970. It's the most requested photo from the National Archives.
Really?
And interestingly enough, not only was Elvis high on drugs when he did that, he was also packing a gun.
Oh my God!
And he's in the Oval Office meeting the president.
I thought you were going to say Richard Nixon was high on drugs too.
No, but, and Elvis he collected badges, and so he wanted to be made some kind of special agent to the FBI. He wanted to be a special informant.
Yeah.
And he's high on drugs asking for it.
Aye.
And then going back quite a few years, 1937. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The first full-length animated feature film premiered in LA on this date in 1937.
Wow.
Snow White and the Seven
Snow
Dwarfs.
White.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm looking up here. I like this National French Fried Shrimp Day, Rick. That
You know,
looks
nothing
pretty good.
says Christmas meal like French fried shrimp.
That's fun. Now that's funny you say that. We, with the family from South Louisiana, we actually have gumbo on Christmas Eve.
I'm not surprised.
That is, yeah.
It's also,
I think you've had that before.
I probably have. It's also Phileas Fogg Win a Wager Day.
What is that?
Okay, you've heard of the movie Around the World in 80
Oh,
Days?
yeah, yeah.
Well, that was Phileas Fogg,
Okay.
he, a British gentleman who wagered that he could travel around the world in 80 days,
Gotcha.
and he made it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Oh, he didn't make it? Eric? Oh.
Way to go.
Okay.
Man, he is sharp today.
Oh, sharper than me, I'll
He
say.
is sharp today.
Okay, any other tips to avoid the futility that you experienced in the previous segment?
I'm not so
Well,
sure. No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
I
It's,
don't
Mainly
know.
just look at the policy and understand what you
Well, we
well,
talk.
if you don't understand what something means, you can ask your agent. Your
Sure.
agent is there for
Right.
that reason.
Right.
And I'm just
Although
going to say
there are
this.
carriers
I'm,
these days
I'm gonna
that
say
don't
this,
have
folks.
agents.
Anytime that you ask your insurance company a question, anytime you ask your agent a question, and they give you an answer, I'm just simple word to the wise.
Right.
Have them put it in writing. Have them send you an email or send you a confirming letter. If you do not receive that, respond back to them restating the conversation and your understanding of the fact, and be sure that you get that to them. Okay, you've got to dot your I's and cross your T's and keep up with this stuff. We talk about it all the time. There's price and there's cost. All right? Price is the amount of that check that you write. And if that's all you're looking at when you are buying your homeowner's insurance or your business owner's insurance, then there's going to be a cost associated with that price. And that cost on the low price is always going to be much higher than the cost on the high price.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
It's as simple as I can make it. If you're buying your insurance based on premiums alone, you're going to have policies that will have all of these exclusions, all of these limitations, all of these less favorable conditions, higher deductibles, more reduced coverages, and less payout ultimately to you. That's why the premiums are lower.
Exactly.
Okay.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, thank you, son. Wow.
Wow.
After 30 years.
Yeah,
I-
Christmas miracle. Hey, I know you guys are big on certifications.
Oh, we
I
are.
am too,
We are.
and you have some new ones, and there are even other new ones coming down the pike.
Well, we don't have any new ones in the last couple weeks. This was that might have been a copy and paste error, but
Okay.
I had a new one.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Well, tell people
Well, you
about
weren't here
it.
last week. He
I
talked about it
wasn't-
last week.
we talked on the radio last week. I am a master damage inspector.
And what organization?
HAAG.
Oh, okay. Wow. I didn't
Now,
know.
if
I
you
didn't even
have-
know that was a
if you
credential
have-
from them.
If you have the 3 basic credentials, the wind and the commercial and the residential, they now have a master level, which is another examination. And what it does for me is it keeps me from having to renew all my individual credentials.
Oh man.
I now only have to renew 1 credential, and they're all renewed. So that
That sounds
But
like
some of-
something I
some-
need to jump on.
Some of the new training that you guys are getting, what, high, steep, and slippery roof training?
Well, yes, we are doing that, but before that, Kelvin and Johnny have both selected their own course of credentialing
Okay.
as HAAG-certified inspectors,
Yes.
which they have not embarked on that journey yet.
Okay.
But this, I guess, December
Yeah, if
year
you'll
end, they're running
remember, you had to have a certain amount of experience,
Exactly.
a certain number of roofs that you have been on that Scotty or I have to certify to HAAG that you have served as the primary inspector on X number of roofs
Right.
in order to be able to even sit for your HAAG certifications. So
Exactly.
they have now.
And now they've
Yes,
accomplished
exactly.
that.
They've accumulated that experience.
Good,
Yes.
good.
Right.
But we'll be going down to South Texas at some point in the second quarter, potentially the first quarter, but I just don't see the time. Maybe we can carve some out to go down to South Texas for high, steep, and slippery roof training.
And
The
I
group-
will not be attending that one.
Well, we There's no need to do that.
Yeah,
That's why you have us.
I will not be attending that one.
Speaking of quarters, by the end of the first quarter, you guys will be a premier sponsor of the Spring Home and Outdoor Living Show at Fair Park.
That's
That's
right.
right.
We've got the show coming up. What is that?
March.
March 21st through 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think so.
And we'll have a big display there. We're going to have our Certainty Solstice solar shingle array.
Oh, great.
Will be fully installed, integrated into a Northgate roof system, so people can see what that integration looks like and understand what's involved with that. We'll have our other offerings in terms of the Certainty impact resistant lineup, some things that we really love shingle wise. The Belmont, the Carriage House, the Presidential IR, and things like that, and of course Grand Manor. So
I think we'll also have a sample section of fortified roof to display.
absolutely,
Fantastic.
absolutely, we will have. We're going to show. We're basically going to show on. If you look at the roof and it's a simple hip roof with 4 hips, we're going to have the Solstice array in one. We're going to have a fortified array or fortified installation on another, and we're going to have a integrity roof system, so you can see the differences in the integrity roof system and the fortified. And there's not tremendous differences, but again, the fortified is going to be stepping up several layers
Right.
above the integrity roof system. And then we'll show what most roofers are doing, just for grins, so that we can illustrate the significant differences that systems roofs drive value for consumers. And we need people to understand that when the roofer tells you, I'm just going to give you exactly what you've already got, okay? You really need to be raising your eyebrows and asking the questions. Well, couldn't I have something better than what I've already got? I wrote a letter this morning to one of my longtime clients. He's got a home, a small home over in the village. He's getting ready to sell it, and they're going to escrow the money for the new roof because it needs to have a new roof. And they're going to close, like right around New Year's or something. We're not going to be able to get it done in time because the insurance company turned it down. So first I've got to fight that battle. But I told him, I said, Jeff, your new buyer needs to look at, it has a 3-tab roof on it right now. I said, your new buyer needs to look at upgrading to a minimum of an architectural class 3 shingle or a Northgate class 4 modified SBS shingle. And I will give them accurate pricing, my cost for those upgrades to get them into a shingle that's going to perform for them. The 3-tab shingle has a 60-mile-an-hour wind warranty on it.
65 in certain team's case.
And Scott doesn't nail 3-tab shingles. McRoof doesn't do 3-tab roofs. We don't do that. So the Landmark and the Northgate are 130-mile-an-hour wind warranties with our credentials. Okay, so 60 miles an hour, that's a nice spring day in Oklahoma.
Exactly. I was going
right?
to say we call that Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, and that's the way McRoof deals with things, is we want consumers to be getting value. It's not the price, it's the value that you get out of that new roof. And that's
remember,
what we're all about.
Price versus cost.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And with this much notice, I'll make sure we have the technology to do a proper remote from the show.
Yeah, that'll be, and we're really gonna have a we want to highlight with the people who will be there with all of their credentials and their abilities in terms of the inspection protocols and the HAAG credentials and what that really means. We want them to have the ability to be able to really educate people about what that is, what a qualified roof inspection is. And so we're looking forward to that. And I'll be on stage, on the big stage, I think on Saturday twice and on Sunday once. We're going to do fortified, and we're also going to do integrated solar, because a lot of people, you talk about integrated solar, a lot of people have no clue what we're talking about.
Impressed when I saw that.
Yeah, what does that mean, integrated solar?
Can't wait to hear more about it. Oh, after the storm, and the winter is coming.
Yeah, winter's coming, and what I like to say to people this time of year, if you've put off that inspection, that qualified roof inspection, if you don't know what the condition of your roof is, now is the time to know what the condition of your roof is. If you've got any issues on your roof, if you've had any little telltale signs around the interior of your home or the exterior of your home, even where you see water, maybe water in your soffits, maybe you see a water spot on a ceiling or something like that, maybe around a fireplace, a bathroom vent, a cooking vent, a plumbing stack, those things aren't going to go away. And in the wintertime, when you've got a thin sheet of ice or an inch or so of snow laying on that roof that melts, and when it's melting, the water tends to migrate, it's going to find every one of those places.
You bet.
And those situations are going to become worse. So you really need to get your pre-winter inspection done now. If there's something major that needs to be addressed in terms of, a major repair, a roof replacement, we'll walk you through that. We'll get temporary repairs done in such a way that you will get through the winter without having any issues or problems. We can deal with your insurance claim later on, but we need to button up your home. We need to get your inspection done. We need to make sure maintenance is done, trim the trees, clear all the debris off the roof, clean your gutters out, and make sure the downspouts are flowing.
To do that.
Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Monitor your attic for rodent animal activity. Make sure that everything seems like it's in good shape. and get through the winter time without any interior damage to your home. That's what we're trying to do right now. We're not trying to sell you a roof. We're trying to make sure that you get through the winter and don't have a bunch of problems. Flat roofs are very problematic in the wintertime. They need to be inspected now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, indeed.
Well, we're wrapping up. We just have a few seconds left to go. I want to thank everyone for listening to the special Christmas edition of McRoof Talks Insurance on KOKC. We're going to leave you today with Celine Dion singing "Oh Holy Night" while we do Dad's Wisdom.
Keep Christ in Christmas. Don't forget the reason for the season. Let's all be a little more Christ-like to one another.
Okay, so we're just going to sign off now and let Celine sing us out. Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
How long does he get to let that play?
Pardon?
What's his limit on letting that play? Or is there one?
Since we're not on the internet, I don't think we have to worry about it. This song isn't being on the internet, so we don't have to really worry about it.
Really? How's that?
Because I'm not plugged into the system. When I plug in, it causes that buzz in our headphones and a buzz in that audio.
Gotcha.
You see these cameras, they're going to start doing that here pretty soon. And I won't have to do this.
Which means